Well, one of the criticisms of Investec is that it's better to work at Investec than invest in the shares of Investec. Now, that may be a harsh criticism, but it hasn't outperformed at all the banking sector in recent years. If you look at the share price performances of the South African banking industry, Capitec has by far outstripped the rest of the banks, and we've seen pretty much an even field between the commercial banks, whether it be Standard Bank and Absa First Rand and Nedbank, and Investec often is the also Rand. How do you respond to that criticism that it's a great place to work and staff do very well working at Investec, but as shareholders who put their capital and take risk on buying the shares of Investec, they haven't been nearly as well rewarded?
Bruce, the mix of business that we have as Investec is quite unique, and we are not as comparable to the local banking competitors. We have a large presence in the UK, a developed market, and as you will know, that the global financial crisis affected developed markets far greater than was the case with South Africa and other emerging markets. So over the last 10 years or so, global banking corporations, and in our case, our UK banking business, have had to deal with the effects of the global financial crisis. I think we are at the end. And
to be fair, we've seen a considerable revaluation of the Barclays of the world, the big international banks that were the masters of the universe up until 2008, have been brought not to their knees, but certainly humbled in terms of the valuations.
Look, you know, in the US, the big names like Lehman's disappeared. In the UK, you had a number of banks being essentially nationalized. So it's taken about 10 years or so for the effects of that crisis to come out of the system. We never had any support from any government for that matter. We were profitable right through the period. I think we are at the end of the period of restructuring the business and living in the new normal, where capital ratios have to be higher, liquidity has to be higher, risk management processes have to be different. So that explains in part the problem around the performance of the share price. At the end, though, as the chief executive, I should not be defending a share price. What we have to do is generate returns for our shareholders. At the moment, we have given a strong indication to our shareholders that we are looking to improve the returns that they do earn as shareholders of the business. So we have committed over a period of 2 to 3 years, ending in March 2022, that we will lift the returns of the banking business by looking at allocating the capital inside of the business much more frugally and in a manner that allows for optimal use of that capital. We will look at efficiencies and cost containment. We will look at selective growth opportunities, and we will also look at how we use technology to improve the client experience, but also to innovate and also to help with the cost base. And we will sell a proposition to our client that is more broader than just the individual silos of the business selling their products.
Does this see you broaden your product set, broaden your market? Because it strikes me that without the asset management business, you're going to have to be a lot more inclusive. Investec, in its roots in 1974, 1975, used to lend 10,000 Rand at a time, a lot of money in those days, to doctors and dentists and lawyers and professionals. That became the core of the client base, and it defined the ethos of Investec. Be lending them 10,000 Rand to buy cars. I mean, those were the early days. And Stephen Kosef recalled telling one of his co-founders of Investec, what do we want to be? He said, we're going to be the next, we're going to be, I suppose nowadays we'd say Goldman Sachs. Does that remain the ambition, to be the Goldman Sachs of Africa?
Yeah, we will always be specialist in our approach. As I said earlier, we are not everything to all people, so we are specialists. So we're looking to serve our clients more holistically. So we think about an ecosystem of services and products around clients. That way we can get better returns, but we also have to grow deeper into some of the client bases. As an example, in the private banking space, while we have a very distinctive offering at the top end of that market, we also do service the high income element of that market. And in fact, we are now going down in that market segment to younger professionals. And we also look to bank families, as it were. So we are expanding, as it were, the core client bases that we have to be able to grow as we go forward.
I have a friend who's very grumpy with you. She earns an awful lot of money, but she doesn't have a degree. And therefore, she doesn't qualify to be an Investec private bank client. And it burns her incessantly. I mean, that sort of exclusionary process, I mean, it suggests degrees equal money, and it's not the case. Do you start transforming those sort of old attitudes?
Yeah, not only do we look at things like degrees and professions, we obviously are now looking more at what people do, how much they earn, and what prospect they have of being successful in life. As an example, one of the new sectors that we are targeting in the private bank is the technology sector. You have a revolution around the world led by technology and digitalization, and you have a new type of skill. Where people code, they don't work for others. So we are beginning to address...
You wouldn't have banked Steve Jobs. He was a university dropout. You wouldn't have banked him under those conditions. So
only in the old days. But we are now looking at these new sectors where you have people that are making a contribution to industry, to society, earn lots of money. We have to understand how to serve them. Investec is very entrepreneurial in its approach. So we can understand these types of clients, and we're applying ourselves to these unusual type clients, if you were to say that, and I'm very comfortable that we will find a way to serve them.
Fani Titi is the Chief Executive of Investec. More with him in a moment.